What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. We're here with the final day of Grand Party. Thankfully, it's over for yet another month. As we head into April, of course, we will have another Grand Party season at the start of May-ish, and that's going to be like literally right before the anniversary period. It's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do, just heading into next month, for what, the pre-Annie stuff is going to be. Usually what happens is we get like a normal banner that releases right before anniversary. The character that's featured on that banner is not available on the May anniversary. And usually the character that comes out before Annie is actually somewhat decent. Like, I remember last year was the Tandem Jack. And Tandem Jack, like, on paper was like kind of just okay. But after you saw the release of Queen and Alba, that combination of Queen, Alba, Jack versus Kaido, like that team was amazingly strong, and it's just going to be interesting to see what they decide to do for this month heading into the anniversary and what they kind of have planned, because at this current point in time we got no idea. But I digress. Talking about Grand Party here, the first match, nothing really too much to talk about. Luckily found a randomized team. Remember to go ahead and randomize your team once you are completed with your Grand Party matches to make it a little bit easier for your opponents to get their victories. Now, I know that things can be a little rough on the final day, as you obviously cannot see the opponent's teams once you get a certain amount of victories, and it makes things very difficult, and we'll see more of that once we get into my second match of the day, because things go a little awry, and didn't really go according to plan, but you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about in just a moment. I was a little scared because I did see my opponent did have that quick 9.5 anniversary Luffy, and that character can go absolutely bonkers if he can use his special. Luckily we have a burst skill, my opponent does not, and we're able to secure victory, so that's dope. So, heading into the secondary game, I did see that my opponent was using Usopp as their GP leader, and I thought potentially it might be a randomized team, but I got a rude awakening when I entered this game, as my opponent was actually using like fully built teams, full slasher squad here, Roger Whitebeard, S-Hawk. It was literally a mirror match on that front row. I mean, it's almost a 1-for-1 mirror match, aside from the fact that he had the Rumble Usopp on the bench, I had Rumble Brook, which is slightly more optimal, but, it's literally random at this point, and whoever gets the specials to launch first just wins, right? It's just how it goes. Was hoping that I could potentially get the Zoro Sanji to launch first to haste all my characters, and then I literally would just win. However, my opponent unfortunately got their S-Hawk to launch, and that really put me back on the back foot, and from that point onwards it was just it was an uphill battle. So we took the pretty big L starting off in the first game of match number 2 here. It was pretty rough. Like, I just couldn't do anything. That first special, knocking out a bunch of my units, I just couldn't come back from it. Yeah, we take the L. Slasher mirror matches are pretty toxic. But we move on to the secondary game. I'm trying to come back now, so I end up going with my quick team next. I know that I won't have a burst skill initially, but I'll be able to charge my burst skill throughout the match. And I am running the slasher quick team with the special reverse characters of Cross Guild, as well as the Rumble Smoothie that you guys have been seeing throughout the entire season so far, and this team's been performing reasonably well. So I feel relatively confident heading into it, and I do see my opponent is also using a quick team, but they're using just a pretty generic quick driven team, so I know that they're going to have higher special CT, they're going to launch a lot of specials on us, and as long as I can keep reversing specials to mitigate the amount of specials that I'll be tanking, and also applying a lot of pressure on my opponent is going to be good. I wanted to use that burst skill whenever I got it active so that I could, just make sure that I'm doing a lot of damage to the opponent, pressure them so that they're not using their specials. Momo coming in, wave clearing after that burst skill, doing hella good damage, and then from that point the opponent doesn't have many characters left, and we're able to pick up the victory. So now we just need to move into the final game. Hopefully we can secure a victory. Luckily my opponent doesn't have a burst skill. I will have one Gear 5 burst skill ready to go. And at this point, it was a slasher v slasher, then it was a quick versus quick. I'm like, is it really going to be another mirror match of Free Spirit versus Free Spirit? And, that's exactly what it ended up being, which is pretty crazy. So, at this point, again, like, the front row is a complete mirror match, the exact same characters, right? So, I was really kind of just hoping about Nami Karina. That's the big thing. If Nami Karina can launch, we're going to be in such a good position. And luckily for us, Nami Karina was able to launch first, you know, setting their specials back so that our characters can launch their specials first. And if we could knock out Nami Karina with a Gear 5 burst skill, I felt like we would pretty much win the game. And that's exactly what happened. So luckily, we ended up coming back despite the really rough first game in this match. We were on the back foot against Slashers, we come back with our quick team, and then the Free Spirit team was able to secure victory against my opponent's mirror match. So, very, very scary looking matchup, and on paper, if I saw what these teams were, probably wouldn't have challenged this team, but luckily for us, we got the job done. And then we move on to our final game, so I'm going to be using my Slasher team up front because I feel pretty confident in it. I do see my opponents using that Psy Rumble Red Recruit Zora on the bench for that bottom team, so I'm not really too sure what to think. Luckily, my opponent was actually using a randomized team, and even though it is random, my opponent actually has a lot of characters that kind of synergize together on the front row here, so that was kind of crazy that, you know, sometimes that will just happen. And you do have to be careful when you do randomize your teams, and you do want to take out some of those power hitters. Like, for example, when I randomize my team, S-Hawk is like put on one of the teams, and I don't really want to put people through that, so I end up taking S-Hawk out of my randomized teams. But luckily for us, we could just kind of destroy my opponent's team here with Slashes, so that really wasn't a big issue. Conserve those burst skills for the later games just to make sure that we can get those victories guaranteed. Even though if we didn't have a burst skill, against random teams we should be good anyway, but just having the burst skill is just the extra, you know, the cream on top to guarantee those victories. So I end up going with the quick team again against my opponent, and my opponent actually has like a really weird one here, where they've got characters like Sober Mask, and they've also got Doflamingo, and they've also got Zephyr, and Zephyr actually does a lot of damage to us on his first special, because Zephyr does like a huge health cut and then some fixed damage or whatever, so a lot of my units get really bunched together, and then we just take like a hell of a lot of damage on that first special from Zephyr, which I wasn't really anticipating. Special reverse coming in from Sober Mask doesn't really do that much, but once again, we have the burst skill, we've got a good team versus my opponent, so no real major issues here. And with that, we were able to pick up 15 victories yet again. I think this is my third or fourth 15 win season in a row, so we're on that streak right now, so things are going pretty good, luckily for us. That's going to wrap it up from me though. Thank you so much for watching the Grand Party videos, and now we just have to wait until next month for this game mode to start up again. Hopefully you enjoyed the video though, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.
今日のお祭り楽しみましょうね。